Eddie, thanks ever so much for joining us today. You're the first up in a series of interviews we'll be conducting over Zoom over the next few weeks with Middlesex's current board directors, largely to enlighten members and fans as to who the directors are that govern the club and what specific areas of the business you contribute to. So let's start off at the beginning. You joined the board about 4 years ago. What brought about your arrival to the club?
Um, I don't know. I've always been a fan of Middlesex, a member of Middlesex, and a few years before that, I had helped found a Colts club around the corner, actually probably the closest club to Lord's, Primrose Hill Cricket Club, and so started getting involved in youth cricket. And I was introduced to Richard Goatley, who's now the CEO, and then asked to join the board as a co-opted member a few years ago. I think they wanted to bring in some people who had maybe different perspective, different experience, and also somebody who was involved, as I say, with youth cricket. And then a year ago, was actually voted on as a representative of the recreational game. So that's how it came about, and it's been great fun, to be honest. It's as a fan, helping to contribute to the running of the club is a great privilege, really.
Has it always been on your radar, Eddie, to get involved in the club? I know, obviously, you mentioned your role with Primrose Hill. I know you were very active in setting up that club. You're a local resident in St John's Wood. Has it always been a desire to get involved in the club in the administration side?
I have to say, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I was, as you rightly say, I was born and brought up in St John's Wood. I was one of the little boys collecting autographs behind the pavilion, queuing up for Mike Brearley's autograph, etc. It never really crossed my mind until I was asked, and then as soon as I was asked, I thought, "Crikey, well, wouldn't that be great fun?" So that's how it came about, really, just as a fan of Middlesex and a cricket lover. And if I got the opportunity to contribute and help this great club of ours, I thought it was something I ought to do.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Eddie. You mentioned the desire, I think, 4 or 5 years ago to bring in some new skills into the board. There was always a concern, I guess, that the board was probably too cricket focused. Obviously, in the modern times we're operating in, it's much more about a business. Obviously, cricket at the forefront of that. You were a senior director, or previously a senior director at Rabobank. The skills you brought, obviously, were of a desire to the club.
Yeah, um, I think if you look at what happened over the last 4 or 5 years, we've gone from being Middlesex County Cricket Club, which was a body that was really focused on the 11 men in the first team, probably playing red ball cricket, to Middlesex Cricket, which is a recognition of actually what we do. So we are mandated to look at the whole of cricket across the county. So it's not just the men's game, it's the women's game, it's disability cricket, it's youth cricket. And yes, the people who'd been were on the board previously were fantastic people, been around a long time. They've forgotten more about Middlesex cricket than I will ever know, and served with distinction brilliantly. I think that there was a desire to freshen things up a little bit and bring in perhaps some fresh perspectives, people who had a bit more recent business experience, who could contribute a little bit on that side of things. And it's been a good process. I think we made a few changes to the constitution to change the way the board is constructed. As I said earlier on, that includes we now having 2 members of the board who are elected by the recreational game, which again emphasises the nature of the change from Middlesex County Cricket Club to Middlesex Cricket, recognising that there are lots of other stakeholders, and there's a lot more to cricket in the county than just the men's first 11. I'm not saying that's not important, of course it is, and we all want to have the very best 11 on the side on the pitch, and we want to be winning trophies and such like. But it is also important that we have a strong women's game. It's important that we have that we support our disability cricketers, and it's massively important that we continue to build the recreational side of the game and have more and more people in the county from all ethnic groups playing this wonderful game of cricket.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. I mean, that evolvement process has gone on to the establishment of some subcommittees that operate underneath the board structure, and you chair the commercial committee. What does that entail for you, and what is it you're currently working on with that commercial group?
Yes, yeah, you're absolutely right. There's a feeling that we wanted to change the composition of board meetings, to hold them less frequently, have them more focused, and that the part of that process was establishing various subcommittees. One of which, as you say, was the commercial one. Our raison d'etre, if you will, is to support Laura, who is our commercial director, in helping to finance the club. We've put together a board of very interested people who love the game, but also bring experiences from different walks of life, some related to sport, some not related to sport, with the aim of helping to find sponsors, helping to promote the club, helping to find different ways of supporting the club financially. We just started out, unfortunately, just pre-lockdown, but we've had a couple of meetings on Zoom, which has gone quite well, and I'm very confident that the people we've got are going to be able to contribute significantly to the health of the financial health of the club.
Absolutely, Eddie. You mentioned our partners and sponsors, and of course the coronavirus pandemic. We've been very fortunate. Our members have been hugely supportive of us and very loyal throughout this period. What about the sponsors and commercial partners? I know it's extremely difficult times commercially. It must have been very difficult maintaining those relationships. And what impact has that had on the club?
I mean, you're absolutely right. Members have been brilliant. But what I would say is our commercial partners, our sponsors, have also been fantastic. We're lucky to have great sponsors. Brooks Macdonald obviously have been with us for many years. Knight Frank have come on board more recently, but both have been really understanding and supportive. Like every business, they are also looking at the bottom line and having to make tough decisions. But Laura, working in very difficult circumstances, because we don't know what cricket is going to be played. Luckily, as we speak now, it looks like definitely there will be cricket. We don't know yet what format, so we don't know what value we can really offer to our sponsors. But they have been very patient. They have understood our situation, and they feel part of the club as in very much the same way as members. They've obviously got to protect their own commercial interests, but at the same time they have remained very supportive of us, and I can only thank them. I think that has meant that as a club, I think we are very well run, and with the support of staff and players and furloughing and the contribution that our sponsors and partners have made means that the club is in financially a very reasonable position. Obviously, we've been we're having to make tough decisions, and it's difficult. But as relative to some of the other clubs, we are in a very positive financial position.
Excellent to hear. We're in a very unique position, Eddie. Obviously, we don't own our own ground, so the revenue streams that we have as a club are obviously much more limited, I guess. We don't have food and beverage, hospitality opportunities, events, weddings, and all the other things that go with having your own ground. So I suppose with us at Middlesex, it's probably hit us harder, the fact that we've just had no cricket, because most of our delivery for sponsors is wrapped up in branding around games, shirt sponsorship. Obviously, you mentioned Brooks Macdonald, Knight Frank. Of course, we've got Perfect Smile and Arc Build as well as our other two shirt sponsors. And they benefit from a lot of hospitality around Lords. And I guess without cricket going on, that's been really difficult to deliver that package. So How, looking forward, do we intend? I know obviously we've got plans in place to reward members' loyalty and appreciate their support. Presumably we'll be looking to do much the same with the sponsors and partners into next year.
Absolutely. Yes, not having our own ground is a two-edged sword. You're quite right that it means that we don't have a venue that we can hire out for events, etc. But it also means that we don't have the costs associated with that. And yes, again, you're accurate in a lot of the value we can offer to sponsors and commercial partners is tied up in hospitality around games. But if we are, that comes at a cost. So if we're not delivering it, we don't incur the costs associated with hiring of a box, the food and beverage cost, etc., etc. So yes, we're losing that revenue, but we're also losing the cost. So net, the impact is not as great as it could be. We are looking to see what value we can provide for our sponsors. So when we have been when cricket returns, when they're streaming, there will be opportunities for us to put branding on the streaming. We are working with our partners to see what they want, what their clients want, because each sponsor has a very different view of what they want out of Middlesex. Hopefully, we will get some cricket. It may be, it looks very likely that we will have a blast. So there will be the opportunity for sponsors, certainly the shirt sponsors, to get their name out and seen by television viewers. But we're working on other areas of value. Can we do special sessions for their clients? Can we do interviews with players? Can we do a variety of things? It's given the very serious and sensible restrictions around the players at the moment related to biosecurity and keeping them safe in order that we can play cricket. It's somewhat limited, but we are hopeful that at some point later in the summer we might be able to get some crowds back. As we speak now, there seems to be a feeling of optimism around that, and if that's the case, then we'll certainly be able to see how we can use that to add value to our partners.
It'll be great to see that reach fruition. One big change that I've seen, Eddie, I've worked here for a number of years now, and one big change I've seen is the positivity in the relationship with our landlords, MCC. Presumably, as head of that commercial group, the support that we get from MCC in terms of delivering on those sponsorship packages is absolutely integral to us delivering value to them.
Yes, you're quite right. The MCC have been fantastic landlords, but also partners and friends. I love the fact that on T20 nights, all the MCC staff in the back office are wearing Middlesex shirts. There's very much a feeling that Middlesex is their team, it's their first-class county, that that they want to succeed, and they are. They have been very, very accommodative and willing to work with us over the period of the last few years. The commercial relationship is very strong. We're even talking about, are there ways that we can jointly approach sponsors, because perhaps the combination of Middlesex and the MCC, with obviously Lords as the background, is a very strong proposition, and we certainly should be working together rather than trying to compete with each other. We don't see ourselves. We want to stay away from that as much as possible. So I've got nothing but good things to say about the people at the MCC and the way they work with us, and how constructive they are. They're like every organisation. They're also having to look at the impact of the COVID pandemic on their finances. Obviously, they've got the major rebuilding plan going on at the moment, so that puts things into even sharper focus. But I think, funnily enough, that probably means that we're going to work even closer together in the coming months and years, because we see that our success and successes are linked, I think.
Absolutely. So Eddie, cricket resuming in August. As you say, optimism hopefully that we could have some crowds later on in the piece. So what lies ahead? Where are the next challenges for you and the commercial group?
The challenge is, how do we still don't know what sort of cricket will be played. We don't know when it's going to be played. We don't know where it's going to be played. Are we going to be able to play at Lords? Are we going to be playing at Radlett the whole time? Is it going to be 50 over cricket? Is it going to be 4-day cricket? And that means the commercial department have had to be very, very flexible. And that's why we've kept such a close dialogue with our partners, because we want to keep them updated on what to expect, what we can offer in different scenarios. But as I said earlier on, they have been very understanding and have really borne with us over this period of uncertainty. As things unfold, I'm sure once this interview is put on the website, we will know what we're doing, and at which point we'll be able to nail down exactly what value we can add to our sponsors.
Eddie, that's great. Well, look, I'm sure members have found this enlightening. I appreciate you bringing us up to speed with what you've been up to on the board. I also assume I speak on your behalf in saying that members, when we're back at Lords, when we're back at Radlett and we've got crowds back in, should anyone bump into you on the Boundaries Edge, I'm sure you'd be delighted to stop and have a chat with them.
Absolutely. I mean, it's great. One of the things we've been doing over the period of lockdown is calling up a lot of members, particularly some of the older ones who've been in the vulnerable category and have been very much told to self-isolate. I've had some really great conversations with people who have supported the club for many, many years and have wonderful stories. I don't know whether I was supposed to be cheering them up or what, but certainly I think I got an awful lot out of those conversations. I had a tremendous amount of fun, and it was great to be able to connect. So yes, by all means, I'm at Lords a lot. Please, if you see me around, tap me on the shoulder, we'll have a cup of tea or a beer and talk about cricket. That'd be really great fun.
Brilliant, Eddie. Well, I know those member calls have been hugely appreciated, and I think, like you, I've had some wonderful calls with members. It's been a very rewarding experience. But Eddie, as I said, thanks ever so much for your time. I do appreciate it, and I'll let you get back. I know you're busy.
Cheers. Thanks a lot, Fletch.